Live from an ESG-flavored pumpkin patch, it's an all-new terrific Tuesday edition of Business Pants, joined by Analyst-Hole Matt Moscardi. Woo! Come on. Do people still do Halloween? Is that still a thing? On today's Halloween-filled, scary lead independent director called October 29th, we're almost there, 2024, a scary rate the headline game and a terrifying headlines quiz. What the hell? What is all this?
Wow. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlowAnalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free. I kid you not. I consulted it at least 25 times in the last 24 hours. It's just doing various research.
But let's be honest. As good as it is, you would go to anything that was free, wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely. I tried to go to pitchbook.com.
Not free.
This morning to look at some VC funds. That didn't work out very well. So here's what we got. I don't know what you did. You have a quiz? You have a scare? I don't know what it means when you say terrifying headlines quiz, but I can explain to the audience what I did. I just compiled a bunch of scary headlines, and Matt, kind of like in the honor of our good game, you're gonna extremely arbitrarily, that's a double adverb there, gonna put a rating on how scary it really is, from 0 to whatever. I don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I could do that. I did similar things, except you were choosing one headline. I chose like a topic with 3 or 4 headlines associated with it, and you picked the most terrifying headline out of it.
Got it.
I should say this at the top too. Go rate the show.
Go
share it with somebody.
No one's going to do that. No one's going to do that.
We've been doing this show for like 6 years, and we know that people are listening. We know
only because occasionally we see a reporter steal one of our ideas.
Yeah, we see our ideas appear like magically 3 days after we've done it on the show.
And believe me, these are things that no one is thinking about but us. Believe me. Trust me.
We know that there are people listening, but we'd love some active participation. Like send us emails. It's not
going to happen.
Send it to a friend.
It's not
hit
going to happen.
On LinkedIn. Just do it. Just do it. This is live streamed everywhere, so
This is why I left MSCI, because people weren't participating. The meetings were like crickets half the time.
So I'm glad that we left MSCI and created MSCI. Is that what's just happened?
Yeah, maybe. We actively talk about it. All right, let's start with this headline from 23andMe. 23andMe appoints 3 new independent directors to the board. Remember, this is the company led by, I think it's Ann Wojcicki. Right? Yeah. She controls everything. All the board members left because they were unhappy. So we finally have 3 new directors. Now, let me just tell you about 2 of them. To start off, I'm not going to do a deep dive in all the headlines like this, but the first few, I'm going to tell you a few more extra bits. One of the guys is Mark Jensen. He's going to be lead director and the compensation committee chair. He's a former executive from Arthur Andersen.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's the infamous and now no longer accounting
existing
company involved with the Enron debacle, the most famous corporate disaster in the history of the world. And the second guy is Andre Fernandez, Audit Committee chair. He's the former CFO at WeWork.
Oh no!
Another one of the most infamous corporate collapses in American history. So there you go. So how do you rate that scary headline? How do you feel about that board?
So the third name you have in the show copy is Jim Frankola.
Yeah.
And Jim Frankola sits on the board of Skillsoft with Larry Summers of OpenAI.
You know that at the top of your head?
I know that because I looked up.
At our database.
In our database, Jim Frankola, and turns out he and Larry Summers are. So now you have OpenAI adjacent. Mm-hmm. You have WeWork as the CFO. The CFO. The F is for financial. It was terrible. A financial meltdown.
Yeah.
And the auditor, I like that they didn't bother to put the auditor on the audit committee, because they were like, if we put an executive from Arthur Andersen on the audit committee, even that is too much.
That smells weird, right? Yeah.
That's not right. All right, so what am I rating? The 10 is most.
It's just scary. How scary are these editions? Yeah, how scary?
Okay, so these people.
If you're a shareholder of 23andMe, let's start with. Actually, I am. I think I bought 10 shares when it was all at its absolute worst, just to see what would happen.
That sounds terrible of you. So I think that these are people who are sitting on the board of a company that has vast arrays of genetic data about people. And when I think of the people I want to like set the strategy and the protections of my genetic information, I usually don't think of guy close to OpenAI, WeWork CFO, and Arthur Andersen accountant. So this is pretty terrifying. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 in terror.
The good news for Ann Washicki is that I did some of the math, and across all the boards that they sit at, according to our data, they average 4% influence.
Oh.
So these people are meaningless everywhere they are. So she can really bully them, right? Control them.
She's got dual class shares anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
But I'm just saying they don't have much to add anyway. All right, here let's stay in that AI territory.
I like this
you mentioned OpenAI, didn't you mention OpenAI?
I did, yeah, because OpenAI adjacent Jim Frankola.
OpenAI chair Bret Taylor, he's the guy who was kind of instrumental in the whole Elon Musk Twitter takeover, right? He was he was the chair there at the time.
He's a Salesforce guy. He was the chair of Twitter when
he's a big Sam Altman fan, big buddy there. They just gave him $175 million as part of a $4.5 billion valuation on his new AI startup called Sierra. And what Sierra does is focus on selling AI-powered customer service chatbots.
Oh no, I don't like any of that.
So Bret Taylor, the Bret Taylor is now part of basically the first stage, ostensibly, of replacing human beings. There you go, Bret Taylor. Okay. They're giving Bret Taylor $175 million. This is the second round of funding too. He already got $100 million. So I guess this is who they believe in, Bret Taylor. Bret Taylor's the guy.
You're asking me how terrified I am of this.
Well, I'm just saying, how terrified are you that there are, and some of these VC funds are so shadowy that I couldn't even get any information from their websites. I go to their websites and it's like a bouncing ball, and you try to click on it, but you can't even find the team members. You don't know who the founders are, the CEO is. Why would any investor want to know that? Why would a stakeholder want to know that, right?
Well, can I tell you that when, when I was in college and needed summer gigs, one of the summer gigs I did, I worked construction, but I also did websites for local places. And I'm pretty sure the venture capitalists are hiring basically that, because I was asked to make websites where
it was
joke? I just want in the center a spinning globe GIF, right? That's all I want.
Why?
And
what's the joke there? The joke is
I don't get it. No, I don't know.
We're so rich that you don't need to know who we are. I don't get the game. What's the game?
Nobody knows. But I do know that.
But this is where they're funneling their money. Not female-led firms. It's just Bret Taylor-led firms, I guess.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What's more horrifying than that story? The fact that Riverside made it through one question before the soundboard died. I can't
nobody
use the
cares
soundboard
about that
anymore.
Yeah.
I am going to say this is not super terrifying. I mean, Weight Watchers is irrelevant now thanks to Ozempic.
That's one of the clients, from Sierra.
Another is Sirius XM, which is radio. Also, they basically seem to be selling AI to useless industries. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, but do you really want a Weight Watchers chatbot when you ask it, I'm going into diabetic shock, what should I do? You want to be a chatbot to respond to that?
What I was thinking is I should chat with a chatbot when I'm going into diabetic shock in the first place.
Well, you'll have your own personal AI chatbot to talk to the chatbot at Weight Watchers. Yeah.
You would basically touch your Meta Zuckerberg glasses and say,
well, let's
I'm
move
going
on.
to
Let's move on. Here's the next headline.
That's more terrifying.
Here's the next headline. Jeff Bezos, he's been in the news this week. Not a good week for Jeff Bezos. Reveals why the Washington Post did not endorse a 2024 presidential candidate. Quick spoiler here, Matt. It's because of Jeff Bezos. He owns the paper.
Got it. Okay.
But he did try to explain himself in an op-ed in his own paper that he owns. I love it, and I just wanted this one quote. I wanted this one quote, which I love. He says, "Dave Limp," that's his real name.
Is that
Dave
a real person?
Limp the CEO of one of my companies, Blue Origin. That's the company trying to colonize space, Matt. It's trying to colonize Mars.
I just like when
that's
people can say
what he refers to as
companies.
one of his companies.
One
the
of
one
my
trying
companies.
to colonize the entire universe other than Earth. Just to let people understand what that company is.
He's not currently the CEO of Amazon, but I'm sure he thinks of Amazon as one of his companies.
Well, he's the executive chair there,
chair.
and according to our data, he's in complete control of influence there.
Exactly.
So he said, Dave Limp, the CEO of one of my companies, Blue Origin, met with former President Donald Trump on the day of our announcement, right? This is what he wrote. He said, I sighed when I found out because I knew it would provide ammunition to those who would like to frame this as anything other than a principled decision. I love that. He sighed.
He sighed.
Because why? Because why would we think that? The entire editorial board, 3 people of which have already resigned, two writers have already resigned too. Why that they were ready to endorse Donald Trump's opponent? Why would we think that Donald Trump meeting the CEO of one of Bezos' companies on the same day might be some kind of a coinky-dink? Why would we think that? I don't get that.
Here's my problem.
Yeah.
Should he then remove himself entirely from discussing anything with any politicians? Like, these are companies that lobby actively, and they don't just lobby for their own self-interest. They lobby on all sorts of stuff, right?
Sure.
Like, they just lobby all the time. So is the lobbying sort of is that okay? Because you're engaging with one party or another, or both parties. Just don't do anything. Why don't you just busy yourself with your companies and don't take any sides on anything? Meanwhile, we have Bezos is got all sorts of ideas about what the economy should do. He's no Jamie Dimon says, but he's pretty close. I don't get this. This isn't horrifying. This is just exhausting. This is exhausting stuff.
Jeff, I know Jeff's listening. Bezos is a big fan of our show. Here up in Maine, the biggest newspaper conglomerate, whatever. I think it used to be owned by Gannett, but they recently sold the paper to the workers at the newspapers. How about that, Jeff? How about you just relinquish control of the Washington Post? Why do we need the executive chair of Amazon.com owning one of the most important sort of newspapers in America? That's the part I don't really understand.
It's an excellent question.
But anyway.
I'm going to give this a 4. I don't find it terrifying.
Okay, moving on.
Disappointing and exhausting.
As he heads for the exit, this is the headline. As he heads for the exit, Missouri Secretary of State resurrects anti-woke investing rules. Okay. This is Jay Ashcroft. He said there is a, quote, an immediate danger to the public welfare, end quote, if there are not guidelines in place cautioning people about investment firms that use ESG principles. He went on to say, in a quote, ESG investing opposes fossil fuels, pushes unionization of private companies, pushes radical racial and gender equity over merit.
Oh, I love those arguments. Yeah.
And flexes their influence over who is chosen to sit on corporate boards, end quote.
Hey!
This is scary stuff. He's warning people, right? This is scary.
Yeah, they have been flexing their influence. I think the average vote for a director has gone from 96% to 95%.
Yeah, this guy has no understanding of the influence of
that?
these.
What a moron!
None. Yeah.
This isn't scary. This is funny. This is
by the
funny.
way,
this is stupid.
I love pushing the old racist theory of he's saying. Just so you understand, Matt. I know you're a little dull. Is that
slow?
If any company hires a woman or a person of color, it means they have less merit than the man or the white person. Just so you know, that's what that means. That's what DEI really means. They automatically have less merit, even though we've done studies. We were co-author of a paper, MSCI, that actually demonstrated that women, in fact, have more experience and education,
more
than
experience,
more
education
merit than their male
merit,
counterparts. But whatever. That's
I mean,
neither
but who's
here nor
counting?
there. Who's counting?
This is a 0. I am not scared at all about Jay Ashcroft's stupid.
But he said it's
rules.
an immediate danger to the public
Good.
welfare.
It's immediate danger to Missouri, I guess.
All right, okay, let's move on.
They're fine. Let's move on.
I'm going to go more quickly on these other headlines. How about this one? AI will acquire... Okay, let me start that over. I bumbled the beginning. AI will acquire a human form, says NVIDIA vice president.
No.
NVIDIA vice president. This is not just like some schmuck on a podcast. This is from NVIDIA. Will acquire a human form. How about that, Matt? How does that make you feel?
What I don't like about that sentence is that...
is the sentence?
Is everything in the sentence. Particularly that it starts with not like AI will be placed in a human form, but AI will acquire a human form, as in the AI
I didn't even think of it that way.
Human form, right? Like it like acquires itself a human form.
Early bets is that that form will be a male with male genitalia, because it's only men who seem to be running the AI world, right? It's only men.
So I've been testing ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the form that AI will take, whatever it looks like, will be a big fat liar that's not that good at its job, and therefore will make probably an excellent white male CEO.
Good man. Yeah, there you go.
I don't like this at all. This is a 10. I do not want something to acquire a human form. I prefer humans to have that.
This is from the Wall Street Journal. Elon Musk's secret talks with Putin ramped up during his Twitter takeover.
Why? I don't want to,
You can go quickly if you want.
Okay, this
if you don't want to talk about Musk, I understand.
I don't want to talk about Musk at all. Everything about him is horrifying and terrible.
Let's move on then.
8.
Google to develop AI that takes over computers.
10. Yeah. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
How about this one?
Why would you develop that? Why would that be something you develop?
I don't know. And again, who are the gatekeepers at Google?
This is unbelievable to me.
A couple of dudes, some dudes. How about this one? Jeff Bezos reportedly has secretive personal reasons for wanting to escape to Mars. I don't understand that one.
That's 0 because I would like him to go to Mars. That would be lovely.
That's from a reporter at the New Yorker. Okay, this is what up your alley. Woman sues JetBlue over dangerously cold ice cream sandwich that she says cracked her tooth.
Wow, I love that headline. First, I wish I had the music for that headline.
Yeah.
That is the greatest headline.
What is it? I'm usually extremely pro stakeholder against corporations, but what is it with people who feel like no matter how hot or cold the food they're served, they have to immediately eat it? Like, why can't you wait a bit? If it's hard and really cold, why are you immediately shoving it in your mouth and chewing on it? Why don't you wait a bit?
Well, the hot ones, that was like a 90s thing. A woman spilled a hot McDonald's coffee
I saw a documentary about that. Yeah, actually,
right?
she was in the right on that one. Yeah, she like scarred a large part of her body because of how hot that was.
It was very, very hot. Now they have to put on all of the cups, caution, extremely hot, or whatever.
Well, she didn't even drink it. I think it just spilled on her body.
It just spilled on her. Now, it seems like dangerously cold ice cream is much harder to really go. That's going on a much further.
What is that, like 20 Kelvin? Kelvin? What is that? I don't understand what that is.
It's like close to absolute zero.
Yeah, absolute zero.
And it was served in an airplane. Like, it wasn't exactly like it came out of a super cooled freezer in the back of a Ben and Jerry's.
I like that they can't get my Wi-Fi right, but they can get the ice cream to dangerously cold levels. But and I know no one's asking me, but by the way, why are we serving ice cream to people on airplanes? Why do people need ice cream on airplanes? Why do they need anything?
And when the ice cream is cold, why are you gnawing on it such that you break your tooth? Right?
Does this scare you though for your next trip with your kids?
No, this doesn't scare me. This makes me giggle. I give it a 2 on my terror meter.
Robinhood. You know Robinhood, the company, the app?
I do know
Where you
Robinhood.
Can buy and trade stocks?
Yeah, we do that, yeah.
Robinhood jumps into election trading, giving users chance to buy Harris or Trump contracts. Why, Matt? Why is this happening?
I don't know why.
Robinhood is allowed to let people bet on the elections, essentially. Why?
So we're clear. That is just betting. That's pure gambling.
What are we doing? Why was Robinhood allowed to do that? I don't understand this. This is okay?
Well, now we don't care about gambling at all, right? Like, we're just gambling on everything.
Gamble on everything.
FanDuel, you can gamble on sports games, and why not gamble on everything? And that's actually, if you're going to jump into the space, just make it possible to gamble on literally everything. Like,
look, Matt.
How soon after I have my coffee will I have to go to the bathroom? How soon? Like,
I shouldn't
everything
announce
should
this.
have a line.
I shouldn't announce this, but I have an idea for our next business venture. So I don't actually want to be president of the United States, okay?
Aww.
So what we should do is I will run, right? I will be the nominee.
For president?
Yes,
okay.
but secretly we're going to make sure that I don't win, right? It won't be that much of a secret. It'll be my personality.
It's not going to be that hard to make sure
it'll be my
that's
horrible
the case.
personality.
Yeah.
But we'll just bet against for my opponent, and we'll just get rich betting for the other side, and I'll secretly tank the election, right? And we'll just get rich. How about that?
The NFL actually just mandated that all of the gambling places like Vegas and FanDuel and all those places, there's certain bets they will not allow in the NFL. Now, part of that is I have the question of, how does the NFL have say in what you can gamble on or not, right? Like, I don't understand that at all. But they said any play that involves only one player or one person who makes the decision.
Oh my God!
Like a field goal, a single kick.
But nothing involves one player.
Something. There was one or two others that were like, it was like a series of plays where one ref or the kicker.
That's so arbitrary.
Or like whether or not the coach throws a challenge flag, because they're live games.
How about you just ban it all, NFL? Because that is completely arbitrary.
Are we getting into just we're just making it up as we go along? This is stupid.
I haven't watched much football recently, but I've yet to see a play where it's only one player on the team on the field. There's always 22 players on the field at all times.
But it's like one player makes the kick is like the one player kicks it and can shank it on purpose.
Why can't the guy who holds the ball for the kicker, why can't he move the ball?
That's why they abandoned those plays. But
you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just ridiculous. I mean, this is like a bunch of middle schoolers making rules. This is ridiculous.
I'm with you, and not to mention the fact that Robinhood had to fight a lawsuit that said it was basically promoting gambling by having balloons fall when you bought a stock on its app, and now it's literally gambling. It's literally gambling on the election outcome.
It's terrible.
I don't get anything anymore. This is an 8. I don't.
Speaking of which. They're saying, I think this has to do with the New York Stock Exchange. U.S. stocks could soon trade for almost 24 hours a day. What do you think about that?
That's a 5. I mean, like, you could see how this could go bad, but people already are kind of trading things 24 hours a day. And anybody who, is going to take 7 Red Bulls to trade for 72 straight hours, there are other problems that you have.
That's
right?
True.
Like you have gambling problems.
Plus, you could just bet, as you pointed out, you could just go bet on the football game, you could bet in the elections, whatever.
You're already betting on everything at that point.
Elon Musk claims he can cut the federal budget for Trump by at least $2 trillion. Say goodbye
that's
everything.
That's how much they think they spend on DEI and Planned Parenthood, right?
DEI in schools, yeah.
Yeah, that is
horrifying. Yeah, it's horrifying.
I agree that you got to rein in spending and whatever, but it's about priorities. And Elon Musk is not the guy I want deciding my priorities. I want my elected officials to decide that, not that guy.
I'm guessing you could save $1 trillion by just reining in spending on ballistic missiles and warcraft.
You know, they estimated, I think it was a ProPublica report, estimated that Elon Musk's subsidies to Musk at the beginning of Tesla and all of his companies, combined, SpaceX, winning grants and stuff like that, was over $400 million that the U.S. government gave to Musk to build his companies. So maybe we could start by him just handing the U.S. government, the gains he got on those companies as payback, And we've solved like a couple billion of that $2 trillion already, right?
Matt, we could also just deport them because, as Kimball Musk's brother revealed, that they were here illegally when they started working, so they shouldn't even really be here in the first place.
But this is the worst headline probably of all of them. It's a 10. It's not good.
I only have a few more. Tech CEOs hedge their bet and make nice with Trump. Listen to these two. Apple's Tim Cook phoned Trump to discuss Apple's European legal troubles, and Microsoft's Sundar Pichai called him to praise his photo op at a McDonald's.
That's Google, Sundar Pichai.
Sorry, Google. Yes, you're right. What do you make of that? Called him to praise his photo op at a McDonald's?
I don't like any of it, but it's not unexpected at least.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 6.
All right, I'm going to wrap up my scary Halloween headlines with 3 from Jamie Dimon Says.
I love Jamie Dimon Says.
I just put in Jamie Dimon Says into Google, and I got 3 new headlines. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon Says, it's time to fight back on regulation.
Yeah, no. You know what I think? I think companies have not been fighting regulation for their entire existence. I agree with them. So 5.
Jamie Dimon says the global order is at risk and raging conflicts could explode into World War III.
Okay, Jamie Dimon saying more terrifying things. I'll say 6. Sure.
And even worse, this last headline for my scary, what is this called? My scary write the headline game. Jamie Dimon says... World War III has already begun.
Oh, didn't he just say it could explode?
No, but he's, I actually like this headline because this is the first headline that actually kind of reordered. They reordered the order of operatives here in the sentence. World War III has already begun, says J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon. We always see Jamie Dimon says, so I like how they kind of has a curveball on that one.
Okay, I'm going to give that a 7. The increasing fear from Jamie Dimon.
Let's get out of my horrible. Let's move over to your horrible quiz.
All right, here's my horrible quiz game. Terrifying headlines quiz. All right, I'm going to set the stage, and then you're going to pick the headline that is the most terrifying.
This would be better with some creepy music. Are you going to add it in post?
I won't have a choice but to add it in post. Thank you, Riverside, for failing once again. Okay, so here's setting the scene. You really like being alive on Earth.
Sure. For the most part, yeah, I do.
Most people generally would like to be alive on Earth, right?
Most of the time, absolutely.
And then, here are the headlines.
Oh.
Volcanoes don't cause climate change, but it could be the other way around.
Okay,
we could see increased volcanic activity because of climate change.
Okay, that makes sense, actually.
Climate change even threatening Greece's butterflies' food supply.
I don't like that. I like butterflies.
What I like about that, actually, that headline, is that it says threatening Greece's butterflies and then Greece's food supply. Like the comma is like...
by the way, also...
And by the way, also,
food.
They have no food. But the butterflies came first in that sentence. I like that. Polar bears are getting horrific injuries and huge ice balls on their paws because of climate change, researchers say.
Ice balls.
Ice ball paws.
Yeah.
Right? And finally, fall leaves look a little muted. Warmer, drier conditions are changing autumn in Arizona.
They have autumn in Arizona? I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either. But climate change is killing autumn colors. So those are your 4 options. Which is the most terrifying for someone who likes being alive on Earth?
Volcanoes don't cause climate change. Oh, okay. Climate change, more volcanic
So more
activity.
volcanoes, less butterflies.
Less butterflies.
Ice balls on polar bears, and bad fall leaves.
I'm going to go with the polar bears. I like polar bears.
Really? That's the most terrifying. Oh, wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
I don't know. It's funny. Like, these are all like mildly not terrifying, but just they make me angry, but they're not. I guess the real answer would be volcanic activity, but
yeah, isn't that horrifying?
But why are you living by a volcano? I have to wonder. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. All right, here's number 2. Setting the scene. All right, I want you to feel this.
Okay.
I want you to feel this in your. You really, really don't want to get E. coli.
No.
Or some horrible plague.
No.
Like you don't want it. But that's when you hear the following headlines.
Uh-oh.
McDonald's bringing back Quarter Pounder after beef patties ruled out as source of E. coli
already.
Outbreak.
Well, they're yeah.
It's been 3 days. They're
I
already
trust those fools.
They're just putting it back out. There. Headline number 2. Royal Caribbean raises annual profit forecast on strong cruise demand.
I don't like that.
People taking cruises.
I live in a cruise city, especially in the fall. We have a lot of cruises up here in Maine, and you'll see multiple in the harbor, right? And I gotta tell you, when you wander down in some of the touristy areas during those days, you feel like you're in a Wall-E movie. It's a lot of really, what's a kind word? Really overweight, dull-faced Americans, like they're just kind of staring at you.
I don't think any of those were the kind words.
They're eating something unhealthy. They just don't look well. Here's what I'm just trying to tell you. They just don't look well. They don't look healthy. They don't look.
I think what you're looking for is pre-Ozempic Americans.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
Yes, but they don't. They scare me. That's what I'm saying. They scare me a bit.
Sub headline to that headline. The Arctic ice is melting. A booming cruise industry is taking advantage while it can.
They're going to watch. That's terrible.
The Royal Caribbean cruises that are generating the most money are in northern, like Alaska, Maine, like northern waters, because no one wants to go somewhere where it's so hot you can't be anymore.
Yeah.
So they're going to these cooler climates, having nice cruises, destroying that atmosphere.
Stay away. What's horrible too is that these cruise ships, what I've seen in the harbor, they sit there and they idle all day long. They're like constantly generating smoke, and
they're just.
I don't understand any of it. Yeah,
it's like when you're sitting in the parking lot waiting for your kid to come out of class, or everyone's like just running their car. And the third headline: threat of foodborne pathogens is growing with climate change, experts warn. So your 3 options. That I believe. Quarter pounders are back. Cruises are booming, or foodborne pathogens because of climate change.
It's that last one, because what I've noticed is that I use my basement as an example, because especially in the summer,
foodborne pathogens.
Yeah, especially in the summer when the humidity levels are high and like the heat, the temperature is high. There's just so much. I can smell stuff growing. I can smell the mold, and I can just smell. That's what I worry about the most. Is like as things heat up. I just imagine like all these organisms growing when they shouldn't be. All these weird things developing they're pathogens coming for us. I don't know.
I like growing into like spear-like objects. And
I don't like that idea. That's my choice.
All right, number 3.
Yeah.
You're setting the stage. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
If you're a listener to this show, close your eyes. I want you to listen deeply to this scenario. Okay. You are an out gay human being working in a firm with thousands of employees, virtually all of whom are white hetero milquetoast or like not out at work, one or the other really. You're already basically alone in a sea of bros when you find out the following headlines. Number 1, your CEO leads an anti-gay church and apologizes for it. Only because the billionaire ex-CEO, who's the chair of the board, has a married non-binary child.
Yeah, I saw this story.
At Fortescue,
this is
the Australian mining company. Number 2, you find out that it's your fault that angry white men don't want to pay for products that were touched by your gayness. At Harley, which the third quarter results are showing a drop in sales, and everyone's blaming gays. That's what they're blaming.
Is that right? I always assumed that most bikers were gay.
I'm just telling you what the headlines are telling me.
Okay.
And number 3, your existence in the office, just your existence, not the product of your work, just got your hetero white male CEO paid more.
I saw that one too.
Is white male CEOs are making more based on diversity bonuses. Not real money. Let's not talk about it like real money.
I didn't like that one. Instead of giving your white male CEO a bonus for achieving certain diversity thresholds, how about you don't get money deducted from your pay, right? Like, how about if you don't achieve the bonus, if you don't achieve the target, they'll take money away from you. Don't give you extra money for just doing the right thing. I didn't like that one. I didn't like that.
I like that. I think if you don't achieve any target that you state publicly, they should take all your money away.
The most frightening to me by far is this story out of Australia. There's a lot of abhorrent, bombastic, male, patriarchal, blowhardy behavior in Australia. We've been covering it for years. I don't know what it is about the patriarchy in Australia that is so that leans towards these men so much. But this one is frightening. You're right, and none of this is hyperbole. He leads an anti-gay church, which is espousing some horrible.
It, right? He's not like just a member. He doesn't show up. He leads
espousing some horrible things, and then it is basically trying to reassure you that he loves gay people. I find that really bad and horrifying and scary. And
the church is called Alpha International, and it calls for the re-evangelization of the nations and strongly opposes same-sex marriage. It also has sermon videos aimed to guide gay people to Jesus to change, basically conversion therapy through Jesus.
To Jesus, right?
Is what it's saying, and that sex should only exclusively occur between a man and a woman. And the CEO is Mark Hutchinson. He's the CEO of the energy business, Fortescue's energy business. So not the CEO of the full company, just
Here's an
subsidiary.
idea. Here's an idea. Why don't you just let him go?
Yeah. Instead, what they did was issue several apologies.
Yeah,
because
just let him go.
The first one didn't go so well. He had to clarify his previous comments in a second staff email. So
just say he probably doesn't have enough time to focus on the company if he's also leading an anti-gay church.
It takes a lot of time.
Nobody cares. Just fire him. No one's going to care.
All right, here's number 4.
Yeah.
Setting the stage.
Yeah.
Feel this. Picture this. You're at home, comfortably at your kitchen table. Your homemade coffee is made.
Yeah.
The house is empty.
Ooh, I like that.
The kids are at school if you have kids. The cat's outside.
Yeah.
You're on Zoom calls. You can go shit in your own toilet.
I don't like that
You can choose
profanity.
to wear pants or not. You're there in case something does happen with your kids or your cat or whatever.
I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, go ahead.
And then you see these headlines that everyone at some companies are being forced to come back to the office, even if the CEO isn't there. At Starbucks, they just issued you have to come back to the office in a move that they're trying to do, forced layoffs.
But this is a bit misleading, right? Because I thought originally doesn't he have to eventually move to Seattle?
It says, I went back to the contract because that was confusing to me.
Yeah.
Because in the article, it said he had 3 months to relocate to Seattle. What it says is he has 3 months to find a secondary residence in Seattle.
Oh, that's not the same thing.
All he has to do is buy someplace to stay. They will pay for temporary housing when he comes up, but he has to buy someplace so that he's staying there. But he is not moving to Seattle. In fact, here is the exact quote from it.
Go ahead.
The exact quote from it is, I had it up and then I moved it. The exact quote from it is...
Yeah, we're waiting.
I know you're waiting, and you can wait some more.
No, we are waiting.
During your employment with the company, you will not be required to relocate to the company's headquarters currently in Seattle, Washington. You will not be required.
But you will be required to have a secondary residence in Seattle?
From the start date... You have up to 3 months to secure permanent secondary housing arrangements.
I hope he can afford. You think he can afford to find an apartment in Seattle? You think that's possible?
Oh, well, they'll take care of that because once he identifies that secondary housing arrangement, they will pay directly or reimburse you for the costs of your reasonable temporary housing, and they will also you will be eligible for reimbursement for your qualified relocation expenses to Seattle when that happens.
I mean, look, I'm not necessarily for or against back to work mandates, but if the CEO is getting all this, then of course it's just stupid. It's just right.
Well, funny you should mention that, because there was another headline showing that the percentage of CEOs who are now supercommuters has grown in the last decade.
Yeah.
Now, currently, just under 10% of CEOs.
Oh, so that's more than there are female CEOs.
Are supercommuters, and the study showed that those supercommuting CEOs tend to underperform if they own a boat or live near a golf course.
How do they know this? How do they know they own a boat?
Meanwhile, another
Public
headline
records?
today, there was a CEO who came out and said they're clamping down on remote work because of crazy things like people working from Bali.
Yeah,
but
right.
If you can afford a boat or to live on a golf course, that's cool because you're the CEO.
I would say that it should absolutely be a mandate that anyone making above $1 million at a publicly traded company should be there 5 days a week, right?
Just move to the fucking headquarters,
right? I'm sure you can get a generous vacation. You probably could fly even at 5 o'clock. You could probably fly to LA if you want to go to the Dodgers game or whatever. So just go to the office.
Headline number 2.
Yeah.
You are working from home. You still get to work from home. You're not forced into the office, but you're doing it for a dual-class dictator because Spotify clamped down. Their HR chief just said that they won't be doing what Amazon did and clamping down on remote workers, but you still work at Spotify. You still have to work for Daniel Ek.
Well, I don't understand.
It's terrifying.
Okay. You pushed really hard for that joke.
And number 3.
Yeah.
Being forced to basically bring your kids to the office because Dell announced with 2 days' notice that they will no longer be allowing remote work. They announced.
Really?
They said 2 days' notice. They basically sent out like a missive on like Thursday or Friday and said, next week you're back in the office.
I love how it's right at the beginning of the school year, too. That makes things easy for parents.
It's after the school year. So all the parents freaked out because they were like, we can't sign our kids up for care. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Every slot is filled. The reports are that the Dell offices were so jam-packed. There was no parking, and they're trying to use it to get people to quit. Right, so basically, they're weeding out the women who disproportionately have to deal with childcare. And this is the best way to fire lots of women and people
despite
of color.
The fact that they probably promoted this while hiring a lot of those women.
This was a big selling point, right? Now get into the office. All right, those are your options.
Jeez. Which one is the most terrifying? I got to go with that one. I mean, that's bad. And you're right. And I'm glad you pointed out that it absolutely disproportionately affects women. I mean, come on, we know this to be true.
If you want to fire a whole bunch of women, just make everyone come into the office again. That's all you got to do.
Men still in 2024 see them being with their kids as like being asked to babysit. They don't see it as part of their what they do, like their duty. They see it as like helping out their wife, right? This is going to disproportionately hurt women in the workforce. Absolutely.
When we lived in Boston, we used to call it Dadder Day
Dadder Day.
On Saturdays, all the dads would have the kids at the playground.
Well, one of my favorite things
would be on their BlackBerries.
One of my favorite things is we'll point out dads like at 10 a.m. on a weekend morning at the playground, and they look really depressed.
Yeah, they look like they have
that
no idea what to do.
Face. They're peeking at their phones.
The kids eating dirt while they're texting. It's like unbelievable. All right. I've got 2 more, but one is kind of a quick joke. Here's setting the stage. You're an investor, but these are the only investment options in the world. Which one is the most horrifying to you?
Most horrifying. Okay.
Number 1, Boeing raises greater than expected $21 billion from new stock sales on pricing.
Surprised by that, yeah.
Boeing somehow, investors did not get the memo that they stink at making airplanes.
They stink at more
space,
than that. Yeah, I was going to say. And stakeholder relations, right? I mean, with their own labor relations. Yeah.
Their employees don't like them. The customers don't like them. Their products don't work.
Yeah, this is one of the only companies I've ever seen. We've been covering headlines for years now where other CEOs are complaining about them. Like, that never gets into the public, into the press, never. But it does at Boeing.
Number 2, McDonald's $5 value meal saves the third quarter U.S. sales, but E. coli outbreak hangs over recovery. So you have to invest in McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know, that $5 value meal full of the E. coli, that's what's saving your investment, baby.
Can we be done with McDonald's? Is McDonald's ever going to be over?
No. Number 3, Southwest Airlines must face pilots' union lawsuit over threats.
Oh, I don't know what that is. What's that?
So the pilots' union faced threats as part of forming the union.
Who threatened them? The management threatened them.
Apparently management had threatened them, and now they're suing Southwest. This at a time when Southwest just had a board shakeup and replaced 6 directors.
Yeah.
CEO Bob Jordan still kept his job.
Still there.
How long until we have basically the same situation at Norfolk Southern at Southwest, where we find out something horrible about the CEO and they're forced to resign after?
And let's not forget that their former CEO is still in the boardroom too. The business news gets that wrong. He's not out. He actually is.
He's not out. Yeah.
He's emeritus chair, and he will still be at every single board meeting.
I think they actually handcraft a chair that they call the emeritus chair, and that's the one he sits in. It's really comfortable.
Imagine being pro-labor directors on that board, trying to with
that guy in the back.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it's possible.
And then finally, Subway is seriously skimping on deli meat, lawsuit says.
I believe that.
I love that idea. I love that.
Well,
so,
that's a good thing, by the
options.
way. If you're eating at Subway, it's good if you get less of the meat.
Your four options, your horrible investment options are Boeing, McDonald's, Southwest, and Subway.
This is which is the most terrifying?
Yeah, which is that worst of those options?
I mean, McDonald's really sticks out of that one. I mean,
really,
that they're rushing back the quarter pounders just mere days after this E. coli outbreak. I don't. Can you trust them? There's so many. We have covered so many controversies at McDonald's over the years. So many missteps. So we've had so many different CEOs and board strife and lawsuits and harassment suits. McDonald's always terrifies me.
The McDonald's health team went to a McDonald's in Poughkeepsie and tested Carl's burger that he was eating, and they said there's no E. coli on this one.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just that we're fine. Just get the rest of them out. And your last horrifying question in this horrifying quiz: Who is the most terrifying victor in November?
Oh,
Trump?
No, don't say it.
Musk?
Don't say that either.
Harris?
Yes.
Or Jamie Dimon says?
Well, speaking of Jamie Dimon says, Jamie Dimon rumored Treasury Secretary for President Kamala Harris. You heard that one?
I did not hear that one. He said he wouldn't take anything, though. He also
he
said
wouldn't.
That.
He would not. He says he would not. And let's not forget that Jamie Dimon
stay at J.P. Morgan for the foreseeable future. For as long as he's alive.
For those Jamie Dimon fans out there, the one thing he won't say is that he actually supports Kamala Harris because
he won't
supposedly
say that.
In secret he loves her, but he won't say that. He'll say everything else, but he won't say that. So who was the most terrifying? I mean, come on, this one's obvious. The most terrifying victor would be Trump. I mean, right? It has to be. I mean,
I don't.
At least for me.
Question.
For me. Yeah.
I think for everybody involved.
And I want to make a caveat here that yes, while we cover the ESG world and ESG data, and ESG data in itself is not political, this is just my horrible opinion. My horrible opinion is that Trump is a nightmare, but that doesn't mean that the data suggests that. Okay, it's not left or right. The data.
No, look, I'll say it this way. We are incredibly consistent, and this is not political. We do not like dual-class dictators. Donald Trump said he would be a dictator.
I don't like family firms either, and he's part of.
We also don't go out and say when CEOs say things, we're going to guess what they were actually feeling. and ignore what they said.
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
do that.
Yeah.
When we read bios and we read like transcripts and data and we're looking through like investor reports, we don't say, oh, we're just going to guess what the company actually meant by those words. We know better than to know that they were,
Wait, so
they weren't being serious about stuff.
So are you saying when it becomes public knowledge that your CEO is the leader of an anti-gay church, we should trust that information? We shouldn't trust the fake apology?
When the CEO who's leading the anti-gay church comes out and apologizes, we can look at those things and say, okay, you're apologizing, but you lead an anti-gay church.
Yes, this happened. That's
happened,
a real thing.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't have to look at the anti-gay church and say, yeah, but he didn't really feel anti-gay at the church that he was leading, right? Like, I don't have to guess that.
What's your point here?
It was an anti-gay church.
What's your point here?
My point is, it's not political to say you're against Trump because we're against the basic governance principles that apply to Trump. We're for the other governance principle. Musk... of all of these, like even Harris to a lesser degree, of all of these, just look at them from a governance standpoint and say, which one of these governance structures would you trust the most? The one that Jamie Dimon says when he says stuff, everyone listens. The board gives him a bonus. The one where like the guy's brother's on the board, he's got no accountability, or the one that says, I want to be a dictator, but I'm just kidding. We don't. That's not political. That's governance. That's it.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Are we going to be back for the Friday show? I think you're not going to be back
deciding
this week.
No, you're going to have a hangover from your children.
We're not going to be back this week. We will have a proxy countdown, another Halloween special on our
we're covering zombie directors. We're covering directors over the age of 90 who control their companies.
Like the near dead, the undead, vampire directors.
Is that politically correct, calling a director near dead? It's statistically accurate, though.
It's actuarially correct, right?
Yeah.
We're going to cover the directors that you should know about that are sitting on these boards somehow still. So tune into Proxy Countdown later this week. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with more of this nonsense. Until then, goodbye.